Have you ever seen what goes on inside prisons? Not from the polished journalistic reports, no, but the raw footage captured by prison surveillance cameras and wardens' recorders.
I'm Knox, and today I'll show you the wildest moments caught in prison surveillance cameras, from incredible escapes to brutal fights among the inmates.
And let's start with this recording. Escaping during trash duty sounds like something out of a comedy movie script, but Shane Joseph and Willie Ames Driver turned it into a reality with an incredible outcome. In 2018, while in the Houston County Jail in Georgia, they were tasked with taking out the trash. Someone had to do it, right? This routine led to an unexpected chance for an early release. With a guard distracted by a radio conversation at the moment of their escape, both inmates decided to seize the opportunity. They made a run for it, leaving behind the hated garbage bags and prison walls. But their freedom was short-lived. They hadn't prepared for this escape in advance, so they had no shelter or plan. Driver was found in a nearby apartment traced through a phone number just a few days after the escape. Shane, his accomplice, was found hiding in a barn 3 miles from the initial escape point a few hours later. Both were returned to prison where additional sentences were added to their existing punishments, and yes, they're not allowed to take out the trash anymore. I bet you've seen many crime movies where the main character gets rescued by a helicopter, pulled out of prison, and yes, that's exactly how the story begins, echoing scenes from Hollywood movies, but with a touch of sophistication. In 2013, 41-year-old Benjamin Houdin Barbeo made a daring escape from the Saint Jerome Detention Center in Quebec. He wasn't alone. He brought along his buddy Danny Provençal. It's not entirely clear whether they knew each other before incarceration or found each other behind bars. Nonetheless, within the prison walls, they bonded and devised an escape plan.
The helicopter had been stolen earlier that day by 2 armed men posing as tourists and safely landed on the prison's rooftop.
They simply pointed a gun at the pilot and instructed him where to fly. It took Barbeo and Provençal about 6 minutes to climb up the rope to the helicopter. And why the prison guards didn't intervene, shoot them, or try to stop them remains a mystery. It seems like no one was looking in their direction. How could they not notice a helicopter? However, within a few hours of the escape, Barbeo and Provençal, along with their accomplices, were arrested. Authorities confirmed that the abducted pilot was found safe and unharmed. In the western part of Rio de Janeiro, prison officials experienced genuine shock and sincere amazement when they discovered an attempt to escape by a well-known Brazilian gang leader, Clovino da Silva, better known as Shorts. Silva, a high-ranking member of one of Brazil's most powerful drug gangs, was serving a 73-year sentence for drug trafficking. Apparently, he decided he had enough of life behind bars and conceived a daring escape plan worthy of a Hollywood script. His strategy was to disguise himself as his daughter and stealthily leave the prison premises through its gates. To execute this plan, he enlisted the help of his younger daughter, who visited him. Although the idea might seem like something out of a comedy show, the attempt was quite serious. However, as expected, executing the plan encountered unforeseen difficulties, and somehow the guards caught on. I wonder how. And now look at these shots. It was the last time El Chapo was seen in his cell, pacing back and forth peacefully as if he was just waiting for the right moment. Few suspected he was preparing for one of the boldest escapes in modern history. The footage shows him leaning forward, studying something on the floor of his cell, and this is the climax of his plan. Then he sits down, probably taking off his sandals, and in the next moment, he disappears from view. It's now known that beneath the shower was a cleverly concealed tunnel, designed to remain unnoticed by the prison's surveillance cameras.
Can you imagine the sheer audacity of it? Essentially, a tunnel to freedom.
In the Sherbinsky court of Moscow, the case of 18-year-old Leonid Geyser, suspected of murdering his 21-year-old sister, which occurred on December 9, 2019 in their apartment on Samuel Marshak Street, was being heard. Besides stab wounds, drawings were found on the victim's body, apparently having a ritualistic nature. During interrogation, Geyser claimed to have committed the murder in an attempt to exorcise demons. The situation in the courtroom escalated when the cameras captured Geyser's dramatic attempt to escape. The accused climbed onto the upper edge of the glass partition, where he was and smashed through the suspended ceiling before the astonished police officer's eyes, trying to break through it to freedom. He actually almost completely disappeared into the ceiling. Unfortunately for Geyser, there wasn't enough space up there for a successful escape and he got stuck. Where did he even plan to go from there? The police officers tried to subdue him using batons and tasers, with one officer grabbing the escapee's pants, ultimately foiling the escape attempt. It looks somewhat comical, but they surely didn't shoot, did they?
But sometimes, escapes are much more epic.
For example, the story of Vasilis Palaikostas, known as the Greek Robin Hood, deserves attention not only for his incredible criminal exploits, but also for his noble inclination to share his loot with the less fortunate. Distinguished by bank robberies, kidnapping wealthy industrialists, and a number of other major crimes, Palaikostas did not accumulate wealth for himself. Instead, he distributed the loot among those in need, earning him the nickname of Greek Robin Hood. However, his fame is not limited to charity alone. Palaikostas also became famous for his thrilling prison escapes. Inspired by movie characters, he executed 2 successful helicopter escapes from the Korydallos prison, one of the most heavily guarded correctional facilities in Greece. The first escape occurred on June 4, 2006, with the help of 2 accomplices who hijacked a tourist helicopter and forced the pilot to land on the prison's rooftop, from where Palaikostas managed to fly away. His second escape in 2009 was even more dramatic, as he and his cellmate Akis Rezai again used a helicopter to flee, ascend to freedom via a rope ladder. These events not only confirmed his reputation as a criminal genius, but also made him one of the most wanted criminals in Greece, with a reward of €1 million for his capture.
But sometimes, internal surveillance cameras capture not only escapes, but also brutal internal disputes,
which usually rarely come to light. Video surveillance at the Elgin Middlesex Correctional Centre in London, Ontario, shows Anthony George beating his cellmate Adam Kargas to death and then dragging the body into the communal shower area the next morning, apparently unnoticed by prison guards. The video was captured by a security camera installed on the wall of Block 6 in the Elgin Middlesex Correctional Centre on October 25th, 2013 and October 31st, 2013, the night Argus died. The video shows George interacting with Kargas only 6 times. It seems that Kargas was held in a chokehold by the prison killer at least 4 times in plain view of other inmates and guards. Once the 2 men are locked in the same cell, through the window, George is seen hitting, kicking, stomping and strangling Kargas, while the inmate's face is pressed against the glass. The beating, which lasted about an hour, occurred without the guard's reaction, although everything was captured on closed-circuit television. The next morning, the video shows George leaving his cell and seeking help from other inmates to clean up the blood, wrap Kargas' body in a sheet, and drag it to the prison's shower area.
Guards finally discovered Kargas' body around 10 a.m. on November 1st and called for medics. But by then, Kargas was already dead.
The autopsy determined that Kargas' cause of death was blunt trauma to the head, neck, and face. His face was so severely beaten that Kargas had to be identified by his tattoos. George was convicted of murder and received a life sentence without the possibility of parole for at least 10 years. He claimed to have been drunk at the time of the murder after drinking liquid made from fermented fruits. Also, apparently, he smoked a cigarette containing cannabis. I wonder how they managed to get all that in prison.
Have you heard about the harsh conditions in CIS prisons?
Here's a video from an Abkhazian prison that really went viral on the internet. It's unclear when and by whom it was filmed, but according to the tour guide, it's his camera in the Toronto Pretrial Detention Center, where he serves his sentence and where his wife and children come to visit him. With the widespread availability of webcams, it's hard to be surprised these days, they say, but this video is striking for something else: the presence of its own hemp plantation. Since there was no space in his garden, the plants are now grown on the roof, where a garden is also arranged. Hemp stretches up to the wall, next to which a guard is stationed. It can be seen that even among the grapevines, hemp grows vigorously. The tour guide boasts, claiming that he showed only half. This video was first published by the Sukhumi Independent Information Agency, which also sent a request to the Ministry of Internal Affairs for comments.
The response stated that the video had been seen before and had been previously circulated, but the most interesting was the last statement.
The current reality does not correspond to what is shown, which suggests that the situation was indeed like that at some point, but not anymore. The Ministry of Internal Affairs published its video from the same camera dated September 2nd, which no longer shows any bushes, but the furniture and curtains indicate that the tour was filmed quite recently. In response to the request received, the Ministry of Internal Affairs presented footage from the recreation area and for long visits, showing a view of the inner courtyard where there are no prohibited plants or items banned for use in such facilities. Meanwhile, video from the same period but 5 years ago shows nothing unusual. Prisoners and a girl happily celebrate the arrival of 2019. This video also went viral on YouTube and led to the dismissal of the head of the pretrial detention center and the head of the security and control department for dereliction of duty.
Amber Gonzalez was arrested on September 14, 2018 after allegedly taking a mobile phone from a cleaning cart at the Baymont Inn on Moorland Boulevard.
After the arrest, she was taken to the Abkhazia Police Department on Delafield Street, where the police informed her that she would need to post bail for an outstanding warrant for a drug-related violation in August, or she would be transported to the Abkhazia County Jail. While in the holding area at the police station, she was handcuffed to the wall and left alone for a short time. Concerned about going to jail and not being able to see her children, Gonzalez slipped out of the handcuffs, attempted to open the door to the holding room, which was locked, found a set of keys hanging on the door handle, allowing her to open the door and escape from the police station at around 4:40 p.m. And here is where it gets even more interesting. Running through backyards in the surrounding neighborhood to evade police, Gonzalez eventually made her way to the Tobacco Outlet Plus grocery store on Pivauki Road, where she used her mobile phone to call a guy who picked her up in a white SUV. They went together to the Baymont Inn, where she exchanged in activities with him in exchange for $80. Upon arriving at the hotel, police officers noticed a 63-year-old man leaving her room. He initially said there was no one inside and he had been living in Gonzalez's room for about a couple of weeks. But under pressure, it turned out that the girl had just satisfied him literally a couple of minutes ago. Armed with this information, the police decided to break into the room and arrest Gonzalez again. That's how it goes. They say you can't earn all the money in the world.
And one of the toughest moments, in my opinion.
Thomas Robinson, a 27-year-old man, faced the prospect of life imprisonment after shooting a 17-year-old boy. However, he wasn't going to surrender without a fight. In fact, he was determined to make the lives of the police as difficult as possible in the most dangerous ways imaginable. When the police officer approached to handcuff him, Thomas leaned over and glanced at the holster on the cop's belt. It all happened literally in a split second. Thomas lunged for the officer's gun, but due to the holster's protective mechanisms, he failed to draw it. After a brief struggle, 2 more police officers entered the room with stun guns to subdue him, and they eventually managed to apprehend him without resorting to lethal force. This case obviously looks like an attempt by the suspect to escape, yet he was ready for anything. But listen to what he says during the fight with the police. If he really was trying to escape, he probably wouldn't start with "just kill me." Most likely, Thomas was so terrified of his sentence and the situation he found himself in that he decided to take a radical step to scare the officers in the hope that they would shoot him, sparing him from the impending punishment. Normally, during interrogation, weapons should be surrendered and officers should enter the room without them. However, it seems that the Las Vegas Police Department forgot about this rule and narrowly avoided the consequences of their own oversight.
Well, situations vary, but in any case,
that's why it's best to not end up in prison. And if you want a decent job, know how to write scripts, edit videos, or voice clips, then write to our Telegram bot to join the team. And thanks for watching.